Welcome back to the Quick Testimonies series. My name is Lashandra, and in today's episode, I want to share how I was able to overcome barriers in an abusive relationship. So, a couple years back, I was in an abusive relationship. I've been very verbal and very much so an advocate for domestic violence awareness, being a domestic violence survivor. And so, I always like to share that there are so many barriers in abusive relationships. Sometimes it might not always be that easy to leave, even though that's the desire. When we look at our friends and our family and different people in our lives or ourselves, like we who wants to stay in a situation that's harming them? But sometimes it's hard to leave because barriers exist. And for me, some of the barriers were that I had three small children, having to completely start over with nothing, being homeless with the kids, like hopping from family member's house to family member's house, and not having a car, having to break my lease, things like that, and completely having to start over with nothing. Some people have to go to a shelter. We were actually on our way to a shelter, but by the grace of God, we were able to stay with family. But there's so many things that people consider when they have to leave, and for me there were these barriers that would keep me in place. And another thing was, I actually genuinely loved and cared for the person. They were my friend. I wanted to help them. I wanted to be there for them, but they needed more help than I could give, because I had to make a choice. It was either God or this person, which had became an idol. This relationship and like marriage and stuff like that had became an idol, and I had to make a decision. I almost lost my life. I'm grateful to God that I didn't lose it, my life, my kids, or my sanity. But I was able to overcome it because I had to make a decision and choice. I had to choose either this man or God, and I chose God. At the end of the day, it wasn't worth losing everything. It wasn't worth it, and I was miserable. You know, and I just had to trust God at that point. And even though I didn't know what was next, I didn't know what to expect, God had his hand on my life. He was protecting me, He was with me the whole time. And He gave me the ability to kind of rebuild my life. It took a little while to get back on our feet, but all glory be to God. He allowed us to get our own place and rebuild our lives and heal together as a family. And I'm just grateful that God helped me to overcome those barriers and to just trust Him, because a lot of times we overthink. I know I was. We overthink and we try to do things in our own power with our own intellect. But God says, you know what? You might not know what's next, but trust me. Surrender this to me. And God never leads us astray. And I'm grateful that He led me in the right direction, because I've accomplished far more being out of that relationship than I ever did while I was in it. So, for all those who might be in an abusive situation, know that God has you. Me being in it and on the other side of it is far better being on the other side. Some people lose their lives in abusive relationships and they don't make it out. But if you're in a situation, it's not too late. You still have your life. I encourage you to pray. I encourage you to call out to Jesus, to ask Him for guidance, to ask Him for His protection, and to ask Him for divine strategy to help you as well overcome the barriers that you might be experiencing in your life and in your situation. God hears our prayers. When we cry out to Him, He hears us and He answers us. Repent. Turn from what you're doing. Turn from your ways. Surrender that relationship to God and turn to Christ. I want to share a resource with you. The Domestic Violence Awareness Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Text the word START, START, to 88788. And to dial the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, it is 988. These are 24/7 confidential services available here in the U.S. for all those who might be experiencing a crisis and need them. Thank you so much for listening to this testimony. I'm so grateful to be able to share my story, my life with you guys. I'm grateful to be alive and well and that God spared my life. Even when I was walking in disobedience, his hand was on my life. I will see you in the next testimony. Bye.